Good evening. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting for November. We have an agenda here. We'll start with the roll call.
Present today, David Hurd, Ellis Bailey, Bernie Pidgeon, Tom Worthen, and Pat Rumney.
Very good. And citizen participation. Seeing none, we'll proceed to the next point, which is the town administrator's report. And since the town administrator is not here this evening, we'll go along to Finance Committee matters. Town meeting, we had a successful in the fact we got through with it in one evening town meeting this year. There were a number of items that we got information late or didn't get sufficient information to make an informed decision, which we would hope to avoid in the future. Comments?
I found it correct. We were insufficient information in many cases, unfortunately. I don't necessarily think it was the fault of the selectmen or any one of the individuals. It's like we come to an end of summer, vacations and all, and then everybody goes back to work. Suddenly the selectmen are sitting there and says, oh gosh, charter says we have to have a special town meeting within the next 4 months before the end of the year. Well, if you look at that, it's almost like it's a biannual town meeting because it's a required event. I would suggest we consider changing the bylaws to have the selectmen call a special when necessary. Instead of being forced.
Not a requirement, just a...
Correct. 2/3 of those issues on the last special didn't need to be there. Should have been handled at an annual. Bylaws. Some of the appropriations, excuse me, even though we have free cash to appropriate, we don't have to do it
Correct.
at that point. We can always wait and do a special within the annual and then balance the accounts if necessary. Because as we vote at the annual, we're not voting a specific line item for any department. It's just the department itself. They can overdraft any other account and we can rectify that at a special within the annual before the expiration of the fiscal year. I think that would give the selectmen more flexibility, a better opportunity to prepare for it. Now, the one in case, excuse me, I'm a little winded here coming
No,
up.
that's all right.
The one regarding the property.
Westfield property.
Yes, thank you. And I think they were ill-prepared, and they put the article in there just as a space filler until they could get their act together, get the information together, and get an idea of what they really wanted to do, have an opportunity to have extensive discussions regarding that. But they had to have it in by a particular date. So they put something on the warrant. I know I took that to task because of the lack of information in one of our meetings, but I think that was not his fault or his board's fault. They were just confined to a time frame, which unfortunately they had difficulty meeting.
The wetlands was the one that they got written the last 2 hours probably before the town meeting, I think,
Mhm.
the final agreement. And that was just to save time because it would have been a long harangue had they persisted with the thing that was on the original warrant.
Yeah, and I think we should
And
seriously
thank
consider
God that
that.
happened that way. I mean, it was a good decision, but it was an argument all the way through the whole process. Within the,
Ellis, did you have a thought on that?
Well, yeah, everything they're saying is true. Just as far as us being prepared, we didn't vote on several issues. Things were changed at the last minute, so I had lived on several of our opinions. Hopefully you guys agreed with me, and if you didn't, well, it's too late.
No, I thought that both you and Joan did a very good job.
I actually put in the word I instead of we several times. A couple of things surprised me. The guy from the trailer parks with the rent control suddenly wanted to vote after he'd agreed to take a pass on it.
Right.
That was, I don't know why he didn't get that. But yeah, I think the biggest problem is we didn't vote on several items that we should have voted on, even, I don't know if it was free cash or, there were 2 or 3 things that we didn't get a chance to vote on.
Right, because we like to provide information to the town and observations.
Well, if we didn't vote on it, we didn't have a chance to really review it,
Right.
so.
And the whole capital thing, is, might as well just hand it over to the town administrator and say, what do you wanna do?
What we approved didn't end up being on there.
Well,
Yeah. The one thing that bothered me is we looked very chintzy on the $5,000 for the recycling. And if we're gonna do something like that, we ought to practice in advance as to why we said we
Right.
were gonna do it.
Putting 50,000 towards the jobs program, but
But not
getting cheap
5,000.
on the 5. I still feel that recycling thing is redundant.
I was against
But,
spending the $5,000, but we ought to have had a ironclad case as to why we were doing it. It
Right.
wasn't that we thought they were doing a lousy job or anything of that nature. It was just but what convinced me about it was an article in the New York Times Sunday magazine 2 weeks before that said a lot of the things that we're recycling is costing us more energy than it saves. It's worse for the environment. All glass, for instance. The only thing you want to save is manufacturers corrugated and paper, essentially.
Not even
Just-
aluminum?
Huh?
Aluminum?
Well, not.
we don't have
not-
to get into
Not
that right
foil
now.
and stuff like that, I
Just
mean, you ought to
cans.
see what comes out of our house, it's just crazy what
Yep.
everybody says, and they feel good about doing it.
That part's fine. Pat?
Yes. I was struggling looking in here because I brought the charter with me. And the charter says, town meeting shall meet at least twice in a calendar year. So you'd have to change the charter.
Indeed.
And that could be difficult. Anytime there's a change to the charter.
As evidenced by what we did on the,
And the other thing that I can tell you from the past is that, I believe the charter only gets changed, every 10 years. They actually make a charter
review committee and all, yes.
And we just did that. And a lot of the things that were brought in to the town meeting from the charter review committee didn't go through.
Well, I think by virtue of its phraseology, a special town meeting, it's special for a reason. And based on our charter, it's not a special. You're gonna have one whether you like it or not, because the charter guideline says you have to have one.
Right.
And I feel a special town meeting is for a special reason, and the selectmen, as they're running not the day-to-day operations as Derek does, but have an involvement in which something comes up, Derek brings it up, or they have an issue that must be resolved only by a town meeting. They can call a special, or special within the annual. But we're bound by charter to have that, and I think evidenced we were forced to do it by the fact we were all scrapping for information. And unfortunately, the time constraints were such that we didn't get all the information we really should have had. And if they have an opportunity, as an example, letting the selectmen say a special within the annual, people have a time frame, a better time frame to present information. We ourselves have a better opportunity to interview those people we should talk to get a more in-depth understanding of what they want to do so we can make a better decision.
Again,
Well,
Go ahead,
I
Pat.
just want to follow up on your terminology of special. And people were calling it special, but it really isn't a special. It's just the fall town meeting.
correct.
And I have seen in the past where the annual, which comes up in April, has a special town meeting besides the regular town meeting.
Mhm. Yes,
And sometimes even this town meeting in the fall
Has a
has
special-
a special
Mhm.
town meeting.
right.
So I think people referring to it as a special kind of threw some things off. And one of the other things that I can tell you is that I had an opportunity to talk to Claire Smith, the moderator, and she was a little beside herself in the way the town meeting went because of all the problems. And she told them, the powers to be, meaning the town administrator and the school, and I can't remember if the board
The
of
selectmen
selectmen.
and the chairman of the finance
Oh,
committee.
she did, okay, and she said she was gonna have a meeting, and that was not going to happen again, where all that confusion happened. And I know in the past, I realize things have changed over the years, but when I was on the finance committee the last time, during that time period, when we had a meeting of the town meeting, when the finance committee came in, we had the motions written. They were written, and there wasn't any real changing to anything at that time,
Right.
before we went up and stood on the stage. Actually, when I was there, they put the selectmen on the top, and they stuck the finance committee on the floor with a long table,
All right,
and that's where we
My
were.
apologies.
all right.
That was,
Well,
that's what they thought of the finance committee at that
well, they
time.
think more highly of the finance committee, and let me just
Yeah.
refer to that. Claire did put together a meeting last Thursday. Unfortunately, town council, Richard Bowen, was not able to attend. And there is another get-together scheduled for tomorrow to discuss town meeting protocol and format and how we can do it.
Yeah.
I think everybody agrees that this was,
A bad one.
it was not, yes, it was bad. And it was,
I had fun.
I'm glad you did. That's good. You did a very good job.
I know
Joan did
Joan
a
was
ver-
upset
Joan?
because she
Yes.
was the one that had to read the motions, so I had said to Joan, I'll sit next to you, you know, because if she got into trouble, I was there to help her.
But she didn't. She did very well.
She did very well.
She did very well.
I found it, amazing that they did as well as they did, when you consider the short time frame they
Yes.
had to put the wording together
Uh-huh.
on a proposal or a motion.
Right. But I think the important thing that's coming out of this is that it's generally agreed that we can do better. And we will do better next year. As I say, we're going to be meeting, discussing this, I believe tomorrow afternoon. I think the meetings that we had with the selectmen, joint meetings with the selectmen, were very good.
Yes.
Gave us an opportunity to, both parties or more people listen to the presentations and make comments on the presentations, which I think was important. Just going back for a moment to the recycling, as you recall, we did not have a presentation on recycling. There was no one who made a presentation to the board on recycling.
Well, because it came to us as it's illegal to do it anyway.
No, because,
No.
so as a consequence,
It wasn't budgeted.
as a
Yeah,
concept,
the
as a
town
concept, it was not budgeted, but as a consequence, we again were dealing with limited information, and we made our decisions based upon the limited information that was presented to us. So it was not done the way we would like to have it done. We'd like to have people who are having a warrant article, we'd like to have them describe it to us, explain why it's important, what they need, and give us the justification for it. Without providing that, we are at a distinct disadvantage. And I don't want to go through that distinct disadvantage again.
The point I was trying to make is if we're gonna go against something, we ought to have practiced what the going against reasons are, so that we can get up and
We wrote
say,
them
here's,
out.
here was
Well,
the, here was the
Right,
substance
don't,
of our
wait,
vote.
just one moment. At the same time, if someone doesn't feel strongly enough about having an article that they're presenting to town meeting to come before the finance committee, and explain what their argument is, we have the option of not even, of just passing on it and not making any opinion at all.
Yes.
And, excuse me, when you're meeting with Claire, I would ask you to suggest in some way that when the warrant is posted or accepted by the selectmen, that all pertinent information is available on each article, and not just put in, as I would suggest on the property, a filler, and we'll figure out what we're gonna do later.
That's, again, the warrant is the selectmen's warrant, and they decide what's going to go on it. We don't have that,
Well,
we can make that
I
recommendation,
agree, but it becomes a legal document when it's posted,
right?
and the citizens have an opportunity now to, in some way, get information with respect to what's being submitted. Now, we are at a disadvantage if we open up our folders and we have information regarding an article and we haven't had time to read it ourselves. And that's an unfortunate circumstance for ourselves. I think we should have an adoption that everything comes to us, it's either mailed or emailed 3 days prior to our meeting. So when we have an opportunity to read it before we sit down, talk amongst ourselves or even with the presenter. So we have
If we can,
an opportunity to do that.
That, we all have email, and that's a,
On some subjects, we can actually do immense research.
I
right.
still don't have town email.
Oh, all right, all right.
Oh, by the way, excuse me, Andrew, have they changed it, updated the email?
I know, but I got an email today that we're getting a new website, so I've been having to give things directly to Matt for him
I
to
thought that was to
post.
occur before town meeting. That is-
I have no
Just
idea.
put it into a time
Yeah,
frame.
no, I have no idea. I don't know, I'm sorry.
David,
All right,
I
go
would,
ahead.
for your meeting tomorrow, I would float the idea of having it as an optional town meeting. I mean,
I will bring,
And
I will,
and if there's any possibility, then you'll know there whether that's a,
Because we were going to amend the charter at the special town meeting, so we can still amend it. I mean, as you point out, you cycle every 10 years to get a thorough review of it.
right.
But from time to time, you find there's certain areas that are inadequate or can be reviewed.
Yeah,
what it would mean to the attendance and stuff like that, I have no idea.
Right.
Whether it would
All
slow
right.
down the administration of the town by not having a separate meeting, I don't know.
The special is supposed to affect only this fiscal year.
Okay, but excuse me, this is not a special, this was a
A
planned,
regular, yeah.
planned regular meeting, and I think what's happened is the finances have become sufficiently, I won't say confused, but it's sufficiently complex that it's become necessary, or appears to become necessary, that the town look at this more than once a year. But we will bring this up and find out. Can we close that door, please? Thank you.
Can I just say something,
Yes,
David, about
Kelly.
something Barney said? There is a process that is supposed to be followed relative to submission of articles. There's like an application that is given. And for the most part, we implemented it a few years back. For the most part, it works well. But when it comes to the town articles that are submitted, they're not always following that process. And that's where we're getting into trouble. And running around trying to get information at the last minute, and that's why some of those explanations that were in there were just boilerplate, weren't really, so that's.
Well thought out.
Right. Claire's aware of that as well,
Mhm.
because she's one of the ones who drafted that application process. So whenever they come in, I get those. But there was also a hesitation of giving all that out to the FinCom prior to the warrant being closed, because some of them may not have ended up on the warrant, which some of them did not. So that's just a
All right,
clarification there.
good. All right, proceeding, approval of minutes from October 26th. I believe you all received them on your email, except for you who didn't get your email.
I'm always an exception.
Well,
I move that they be approved.
Second.
any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. All right. Any other business, unanticipated business?
I have
Tom?
3 things. First of all, I would like to get the cemetery committee in and have them go over their budget, their charges, how the whole darn thing works.
Well, I think we have the right to audit their books or review their books, so what would be good is if you or one of us went through their books beforehand. If you want them in, then you could ask specific questions about where they're going with things.
Okay, so I just call them up and,
Yes.
okay,
Will you do that?
sure.
We have a
set that up?
cemetery commission liaison, one of us,
All right.
might be me, I don't know.
One of the things that was in our email bucket, or the mail that came out, was this Collins Center report. This is the first time I read it. And the Collins Center is a part of the University of Massachusetts, Boston. I think it's worthwhile to go through and just read the report that was in our package, or in the email on the listing. Because what it's designed to do is to help with the scorekeeping within a town and its departments. It's got something called Center Government's Analytics Program. What they do is they have, on a consultant basis, will come out and help you go through the collecting of information and the presentation of that information. And they've got another one that deals with how to do a capital budget and project that out for a period of time. So my suggestion is that you read it and get a sense as to whether some of us ought to go into Boston, to UMass Boston, and sit down and see what they do and how well they do it, and whether it could be an assistance
Now,
for
they've done
essentially
this.
Derek and the selectmen. Do you know anything about it? Did you know anything about it?
I didn't know anything before I read that, but they do go out and, for a small fee, they will
Yeah.
work on individual budgets,
$15,000 they'll do a department.
a department.
35,000 they'll do 2 departments, or 25 they'll do 2,
Right.
on up. I sent this over to the Maryland, Jordan, because I definitely think that the water treatment facility needs some way of tracking their performance. And it would make it a heck of a lot easier if they had somebody come in and help them put that together, because I can't do it. I don't.
Well, they have had consultants come in and do the long-term plan for the water treatment. In fact, they have a,
This is the idea of what the day-to-day are, which you can keep
Right.
us for.
Yep.
At least that's as I understand it. But I thought it was something I
it's an
didn't know anything about.
there are programs out there, and there are people who can do this. They usually do charge money for it, even
No,
this
I
is
I would
UMass.
expect, but it will save time and get better information and hopefully better decisions.
Right,
Maybe.
yes.
The school budget is tomorrow?
School, no, it's the 27th of,
No, the presentation is
tomorrow.
Well,
tomorrow.
they had an all-day presentation.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, yes.
It's the
And
19th.
yep,
I was
19th.
not enthusiastic about having to go there and sit all day long and listen to it, because it's an all-day session.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's,
Is there a
But
point
it's
to
the other
going
one I'm going
to,
to. 'cause I was the
is there a point to
liaison.
going to that for the donuts and then going to work? Or is it,
well,
I say
it
that.
depends on what your
jokingly.
interest level is.
I mean, it starts at what, 8 or 8:30, and
Starts at 8 o'clock and
Yeah.
you'll get over
if I
about
walk in
3:30,
at
4 o'clock
9,
in the
that's probably
afternoon.
not a big deal, but
And there's free pizza.
And they're going through the
Okay.
minutia of their individual departments.
But you
I
get
mean,
a
I could
sense
just
of,
go and show my face, I guess is
You
what I'm
can show your
saying.
face.
Yeah, you
Yes.
show my face. As I said,
Maybe even
um,
eat that donut, but,
but you get a sense of who the cast is and what their concerns are, what their issues are, how they're gonna respond to their MCAS performance, which was modestly successful this past year.
Yeah, it was,
10, 5.
effectively, it was, it leveled, remained level. Didn't go up or down per se
Yeah.
Right.
overall, but it wasn't a rousing,
Yeah.
solid.
Of course, this year will be interesting because of the way they've changed the schools around.
Last year they
they changed
Yes.
them around, so this is their second year on that, and you would hope that that results in some improvement. Anyway, I just mentioned it. And the other thing is, I'm, like you to go online and look up visgov.com, which I mentioned maybe 6 or 8 months ago, which is some software that allows a review of where the money goes through the whole budget. It makes it a lot clearer for the man on the street to see what's happened in the past, where we are today, and what projects out in the future, which would make any selling of any budget override, any COP override, a very good platform for making a case of what that need is. If at the next meeting there's an interest, having looked at it, and there's an interest in pursuing it further, I suggest that we go down to Somerset because they've installed it recently.
Wonder if they might, if VisGov might be able to come and make a presentation.
We can,
Hmm?
you
I think that would
can
be
do
worthwhile.
Can do that.
How do you spell that?
The VIS.
It's visgov.com. Arlington, which is so according to Derek, has the best finance controls in the state, is the one that initiated it. But Marshfield has it, Cohasset just has it, Charlottesville, North Carolina just put it in. So it's out ahead, and there's some future things that they're planning to do with it. And there would be some, I'd be curious as to how they'd handled our 2 fire districts and things of that nature within the total thing. But I think it gives a very good, for the man in the street to look at it, we have a pretty darn good understanding of where the money's going. And make it a lot easier in the town meeting to go through and get the budget approved, frankly. So
Good.
if you look at it and you got any ideas, then we can follow up and then possibly put some pressure on the
Is Derek
town.
interested in
Get
this?
Derek to do it. Huh?
Is Derek interested in this?
I've sent it to Derek a while back, but I don't even think he.
Do you have any idea what they might,
know
what it might
knows
cost?
What it is. It's $3,000 and then maybe $100 a year. I mean, it's a very economical thing.
How about
Subscription-
hours?
Cost-
Subscription,
Huh?
subscription service?
Yeah, but the issue is the initial load.
How many?
Because you gotta load the data. They'll load the data, but they load it for $100 an hour. So,
That was my question. Next question was how many hours of town employee or consultant do you need to get it going?
that,
It depends upon the program. that
that's
you have.
why that's what we get in talking to Somerset and things of that nature,
What it
we
actually
figured their
costs.
installation cost was.
Yeah.
So, that's all I've got for the others.
Did you say it's installed in Somerset also?
Somerset has it, yeah.
Oh, I know
I
people.
mean, you can go and look at it. They have a video of, a YouTube of selling it to the town, really.
Left.
Selling it to the town.
All right,
Left? All right, we're down to 10 minutes.
very
Okay, I
good.
have one issue.
Yes,
To request that Derek, when he does his revenue forecast,
yes.
that he include in his line items the revenues from the 2 fire districts. There was one last year, their fiscal year, their their meeting. They transferred some 200,000 in an article to us for various, it was not a detailed explanation, just a package transferring the 200,000 for various things that we perform for the services we perform. And also the fire district, Wareham Fire, has, of course, the transfer for the cost of us doing their collections.
Collection and
I
accounting.
think that should be billed out shown separately. The 200,000 is a question, because that came from somewhere, went to somewhere for a purpose.
Okay.
But whatever it may be, I'd like to see it
Spelled out.
separated out, because we are incurring certain costs, we're doing certain services for them. They have a lot of money over there.
I will speak with Derek about that.
It's
We do the same thing for the
Water.
water and sewer,
Indeed, we
So-
do, yeah.
but we'll see how that gets spelled out in the budget.
Yes, because well, the phrase costs that we do, I'm sure, they have contractual services over there that do their billing for their water, and we're doing the contractual service of billing for the fire side of the house.
Right,
And we do the same for onset,
correct.
and we're their unpaid bill collector also. So we're doing a lot of services for them, and I'm just looking at it.
Same.
See, I'm paying some of it, duplication of effort, so to speak.
You're paying for it on
And,
one side and you're also paying for it on the other side.
Indeed, indeed. And
hopefully.
just like to see these costs, and everybody, regardless of what the information is, if they don't want it, they don't have to read it. But I have a great belief in every piece of information is out there.
We'll see where we can find it.
Pleasure.
Bless you. All right, I have a letter from Joan Fonts. It's a resignation letter dated November 10. I hereby tender my resignation from my position as Vice Chairman of the Wareham Finance Committee, effective November 18th, 2015. I spoke briefly to Joan on this earlier this week, and I'm not sure whether she's resigning as Vice Chair or if she's resigning from the Finance Committee. And I didn't get a definitive answer on that. I tried calling her again this evening. And
Well, she's resigning as vice chair, that's for sure.
That's what it says.
But whether it includes being a member, I would hope.
Right, and we
that's not
hope,
the
we
case.
hope that it's not the case. So we will get confirmation on this and we'll discuss this next meeting. All right. We have another meeting scheduled in December. What is a good date for that?
The 9th of December is the second Wednesday. Have we got something to talk about?
Well, we hope we'll have a few things to talk about. Hopefully
Okay.
we'll be able to talk a little bit about the planning for town meeting. And we'll also see if we can follow up on VisGov and a few other things that we can. So we'll say the 9th, is that a good date?
Or the 16th?
9th or the 16th. 16th is the week before.
I would prefer to do it on the 9th.
Okay.
It gets pretty hectic. Christmas season gets very hectic.
I know I'm difficult to buy for.
Well, I've got your present already. It was easy.
I won't be here on the 9th.
You will not be available on the 9th.
Oh, but that's a clear.
No, I'm just saying.
All right.
So someone will have to post that meeting.
All right. So we'll plan on the 9th. Very good.
6:30, 7?
6:30.
Excuse me.
All
I'll
right.
figure out how to get rid of that noise one of these days.
All right.
I'll see my grandchildren next week. They'll
If
have
that's
it.
your Geiger, then you're pretty much good. It's gonna hit that right.
That's it. Any other old business or new business?
I hope everybody has a very nice Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. All right. Thank you very much.